Tana Mimao Dati Eddie Swellam, they are the Murray, I am fitted. So I have a people that you know the Alibo. In the shade, and some will not go. Taya Joshua Welu, Fama Tata Suya Pokuma. Taya Tana with the Nadi, who you Ayama to sing. So long, when you are so long, what to Kara. Kuru Sita abusing the boy. Kamawa. Ayama the Kara was at in the Saturday. Who you such it. Macaulay, Matrisia, Julie Giuseppe. She brought up who was in that she. Chana, my pet, Duka, Duka, Siki, all went in Shabbat as a pepper. I looked at the pet. China, Lila, she now sit at Jazz and you came here. To the shade. Cargo, I only want a county meal. Taya Piashini, the Pukuri, Era, a little Pukuri, Era, I get Chanda, Velu, Timata Pukuri, Fuyaro. A Chachako. Pura Tiara. Sita Jazzy, I raised she be a paper, a 4 year paper, Maniera Diari, Maniera, a day, a near job, any job funny, I was out. I didn't take a book with you. He of Nadina. The cigar as a she, Taya with a chivo, a common boy. See a Buddha, you know. Look at it, one of your account. See a very funny. I don't see that yet. Yeah, the Jusa, Jim, Yalishi, Guru, yeah, Guru Rushin, Guru Rushin is a Guru, they she food. Hello, never kid him, yeah, I see that, he said to hold her. I live in my commons with you. She left you there. She would have Tilutia, said you of Nazi Yam. Anyone in particular, you had Saudi, they were cheating Yam. Majadi Yam, if she's ever them. True follow, I'm not you wake him up. Mamma Tiluma Hopo. Yes, Buddha video from Tilo County. Taya Piomun, Chingoli, from a had a seeing which is eating. The routine gene is seeing of a kitty, yeah, begin China, you, yes, eating. Messiah is Jinaga, Jina, the boy, Kiki, Maruna. To get China, you yes, Jinaga, to get meat that ship. That is the one. Koya. You know, put at the yellow. The zone is a Javu, you know, 6 years, you do Pesa, Yako. Could I look you? Could I look you down? Oh, yeah, it's your. It is so high. To learn a little bit of movement, the results are not dying. Say that you are Yaji side. You don't have the Tanama, Mida, Jamaica, Farms, and repeating with my job.
Yesterday, Sarah talked about this two kinds of clinging: sense desire clinging and view clinging. clinging by way of sense of desires and clinging by way of views, wrong views about things that make for grasping, such as namely the psychophysical phenomena, and every psychophysical phenomena arising through the six sense doors, especially the feelings. Those who contemplate pleasure in these feelings are bound to develop attachment or craving, which can grow into grasping in a very powerful stream of desires. And as a result, one will perform actions by body, speech and mind, which will again lead to new becoming. This new becoming will again lead to rebirth, jati, with which will be accompanied or which will be followed by these old age, disease and death, the existential sufferings of life and all its undesirable aftermath. So when one thinks about it, one will see the lack of pleasure in one's existence. One will see only the heap of pain in one's existence. Furthermore, those who put emphasis on the sensual pleasures, worldly pleasures, thinking that they are the real pleasures in one's life, they will think that these teachings are very depressing. And they detest such teachings. And they would comment that Buddha's teaching is very depressing. Always talking about passing away, impermanence, rising and passing away, death and all that sort of thing. We don't want to hear about death. We don't want to face death. Although we know that death is bound to come. That's the way they see. And the Buddha Dharma talks about disillusion, lack of pleasure, and the suffering. So all these things are depressing. And since one can earn one's living, one can earn money as much as one works, one strives in the worldly matters, one is bound to get whatever one wants. So it seems to contradict this characteristic of the Buddha's Dhamma as unmanageable, uncontrollable, selfless, anatta. So when they hear about anatta, this uncontrollable, selfless nature, they will think that it's not reasonable because one can get whatever one wants if one works for it. In this way, they would criticize the teachings, and they won't like to listen to such teachings. They won't like to read these teachings, and they won't like to hear these teachings. And they think that such teachings are inauspicious, amingala, contrary to the blessings. In fact, it is not so. The Buddha said that these pleasures, so-called sensual pleasures, worldly pleasures, are dangerous, harmful, and fatal. And the Buddha wanted the beings to be free from suffering of existence. And as such, he shows the way. He shows the defects of one's existence. And he wants the beings to reach the state of deathless state with great compassion, mahakaruna, and great loving kindness, mahametta. So, by just having heard these talks in a superficial manner, one should not be disappointed unless one has practiced by oneself to satisfactory stage. One must practice satisfactorily, only then one can review, one can comment on these teachings. And some would also criticize that there is no practice of loving kindness in this retreat. Shara mentioned two kinds of individuals. One is Asaranupasi, and the other one is Adinavanupasi in Pali. Asaranupasi means one who contemplates, sees again and again pleasure in sense impressions or things that make for grasping or in one's life. And as for the other one, Adinavanupasi, this is just the opposite of this Asaranupasi. That means the one who contemplates or sees again and again a displeasure or flaws in these sense objects, sense impressions, or in these worldly objects, or one's life, or things that make for grasping. So these are the two opposite kinds of individuals. In the case of the former individual, that is Asaranupasi, one who sees pleasure, and one who contemplates pleasure will see enjoyment in every object that one comes across, one meets. When one desires, one develops desire, one will wish to get more and more. There will be more desire arising. And if one meets unsatisfactory situation, pain or suffering, one will hanker after pleasurable feelings, good objects. And thus one will enjoy the sense impressions, one becomes satisfied, one devotes one time on these such enjoyments. One's lifetime is spent on such enjoyments. The vast majority is like that. In the case of the Adinavanupasi, that is the opposite of this Asaranupasi, one who contemplates or sees again and again displeasure, flaws in these sense objects, sense impressions. That is things that make for grasping. They will not think so. They will not find any taste or enjoyment or pleasure in these esteemed so-called sensual objects, so-called esteemed sensual objects of one's life. They will see only flaws or displeasure, and they will not devote their lifetime in such sensual pleasures because they see flaws in them, and they will look for or they will seek better, genuine pleasures. The example given is the drug addicts. They become addicted because they think this drug, the drugs are good. As was mentioned yesterday, that people enjoy things because they think they are good for them, because they do not see the flaws in them, defects in them. So they enjoy these drugs. That's why, and then they become addicts because of a good feeling and high on the drugs. Become addicted. And the same thing goes with other intoxicants like alcohol and so on. If one is addicted to these things, drugs and alcohol or intoxicants, one's health, their health can be affected. Education, business, social life, all will be affected. Even the country will suffer as a whole if the vast majority are indulging in drugs and intoxicants. This will destroy one's life, even one's generations. And one will not be able to cut off this habit at all. And if you look from all aspects, it is they think it's enjoyable. They think these things are very good. They are happy with this kind of thing, and because they do not see flaws in these habits with the serious undesirable consequences. And later, they will need money in order to maintain this the drugs and intoxicants, and they will resort to unlawful means in order to acquire these drugs and intoxicants. Even those who are good in conduct originally, they will look for unlawful means, such as killing, stealing, sexual transgressions, lying, malicious talk, harsh speech, frivolous talk, and so on. For them, these things will become very easy, and they will not hesitate to go into these transgressive forms of acts by body and speech. And furthermore, they can go into this mental misconduct, such as covetousness, thinking about getting others' property by unlawful means, and ill will, having ill will or thoughts of cruelty towards others. So in this way, if one is addicted to drugs, they will find it very easy, they will not hesitate to commit unwholesome deeds, debaucheries, because drugs and intoxicants encourage such things. They're very dangerous, they're extremely dangerous. For example, in a criminal case, when this crime involves a group of people, culprits, a group of bad people, the advisor, there may be an advisor. Now, when the crime is committed, after the crime is committed and it was brought to light by the security people, the prime culprit will be the advisor. Although this advisor is not directly involved in the criminal acts, others will be minor culprits. And this the advisor, prime culprit, is most dangerous, like drugs. Although the drugs may be said that this drinking alcohol is not, cannot intoxicate you, you will not get drunk, you will not get intoxicated with the drug, but later on, this becomes a prime culprit, like this advisor in this criminal case. And because one does not see the flaws, one gets addicted, and one will not shrink from such undesirable habits. This is the greatest folly. So same thing goes with sensual pleasures. Because people think they are real pleasures, they enjoy these pleasures, they devote their time, full time on these pleasures because they get satisfied with such pleasures. And they think that these are the only pleasures that they can get in this life. Thus, they are overwhelmed by these sensual pleasures, they get intoxicated, and madness, leading to madness and violent actions by body and speech, like the drug addicts, affecting even one's social life. So in the case of drug, people think that drug addicts think this is pleasurable, so one takes on these drugs and intoxicants, and one is bound to endure suffering related to the drug or intoxicants. And even this will affect one's associates, that's friends and family members, and even the country as a whole. The vast majority of the people think that the real pleasures can be derived from the enjoyment of these desirable or pleasurable objects, sense objects. If they cannot enjoy these pleasures, they think that they cannot get any real pleasure and happiness. They do not see that real peace and happiness can derive from without the enjoyment of these desirable sense objects. Thus, they are content with such sensual pleasures, thinking that this is the best they can get in the world. And thus, they become mad. That's why it is said this is a crazy world. So seeing such human suffering, the Buddha exhorts all beings or his disciples to practice this contemplation in order to see the danger, to see displeasure in these sense objects, sensual pleasures. Just as when one does not see the flaws in the drug, one will become addicted and one is bound to endure suffering related to the drug and intoxicants. When once one sees the flaws in it, and also one appreciates that one can derive happiness, of peace due to this relinquishment, then one will find it very easy to relinquish such habits. Later, there will be no more suffering related to this drug or intoxicants. Of course, one may feel the after effects due to the previous indulgence in these drugs and intoxicants. When one sees the flaws and when one sees that one can appreciate that there can be this real happiness with the relinquishment, as a result of relinquishment, one will find it very easy to relinquish. One must also appreciate the kind of peace and happiness one can get as a result of relinquishment. Then it will be very easy to relinquish. Same thing goes with the sensual pleasures. If one sees the flaws and one sees the peace and happiness without this enjoyment, then one will find very easy to overcome these sensual pleasures, or relinquish these sensual pleasures. There are those who, or vast majority, think that the real pleasure can be derived from the enjoyment of the sense objects, 6 sense objects. And they think these sense pleasures are the real pleasures. In Pali it is known as Vedita Sukha, translated as sensate pleasure. Pleasures derived from sensations. And thinking that with the subjective judgments, that all these sense impressions are real, beautiful, sweet, and so on, one will go after these sense objects and think, and they appreciate, they esteem such pleasures, thinking that they are the real ones, and the best they can get out of one's life. Now these pleasures can be derived only when there are these mind and body, or rupa and nama, materiality and mentality. Materiality in the form of, say in the case of seeing, there must be the visible object, and then there must be the eye door, or eye organ, or eye sensitivity, and there must be also this, as a result of these two, seeing consciousness. So only when these 3 things are complete, one will be able to enjoy this pleasure of seeing, sense impression of seeing. Then if there is no mind body, no namarupa, when they are told that there is such a place as where the namarupa, mind and body cease to exist, then they will not like it, because they depend on these material, the mind and body, material and mentality, which are the fuel for their pleasures. These are materials for their pleasures. When they are absent, how can one, enjoy happiness? So they don't like it. They think that the cessation of psychophysical phenomena is a great deprivation, a great death, and they do not consider that this is the real pleasure. Actually, the real pleasure is a pleasure where there is real peace can be derived. There is a real peace. They think in a reverse way, because the real pleasure is the real peace and deathless state. That is the real pleasure. But they think in a reverse way, because they are after this material happiness, physical happiness. So this is a sign of thickness of confusion, delusion, thick delusion, moha, or ignorance. There's a big wall, a partition of delusion, dividing, so that one does not see what's beyond because of the delusion. Mind is deluded, so one does not see the truth, because the truth lies on the other side of the wall, because of the big partition, a thick partition. In fact, the pleasures which one can derive without these 6 sense objects is the real pleasure, the genuine pleasure, the real peace and happiness. This is the harmless, deathless happiness. And in order to get it, one must practice this contemplation in order to discern, first the discernment of mind and body, then advancing to the discernment of conditions, cause and conditions, that is process of cause and effect, law of cause and effect process, and also seeing the flaws of the psychophysical phenomena, the characteristics such as impermanence and so on. And one must progress from the basics through the different stages of knowledge. Then one will realize that the pleasures with the sensual objects are not the real ones. One will come to realize, one will come to appreciate the pleasures without the presence of sense objects. Then one will appreciate the real pleasure, the real peace, and deathless and harmless pleasures. Then, if one sees in this manner, if one realizes in this manner, we can say that the ground is prepared for one to realize the Dhamma, or the perception, the real perception of the Dhamma. Seeing the flaws and displeasure and defects in these objects, in the psychophysical cause-effect relationship of psychophysical phenomena, or psychophysical phenomena which are subject to the process of cause and effect. This is known in Pali as adinava. Seeing the flaws, seeing displeasure in the so-called pleasure. Now, first of all, there's the impermanent nature, the transitory nature of events. It arises now and it passes away suddenly, in no time. It has not even arisen, but it is passing away. Now you see something, and later, very soon, in no time, it has gone. And it is born, it dies. Death and birth. Now you see, hearing something, and not long after, it dissolves. You smell something, it dissolves. Tasting, touching, thinking. You have not thought a moment, but it is gone. They're never permanent, even for a moment, because they arise and pass away in a very, very fleeting moment. This is adinava, seeing displeasure. This is the first point of seeing displeasure. And this is because this is dying, dissolving. Things are dissolving quickly. Things are dying quickly. No sooner have they arisen, and these such things cannot be pleasurable, satisfactory. Such things which dissolve so quickly in a fleeting manner, cannot be considered to be pleasurable, cannot be considered to be satisfactory. Especially when you feel pain, unbearable pains in the body, such as this very severe diseases, you will not even wish to live. For instance, when you feel pain, a very severe pain in your knee, you would like to cut off your knee. You don't want your knee. And if you have a pain in your thigh, you want to get rid of your thigh. And those people who are, and if the whole body is paining, you want to get rid of the whole body. Especially those who are suffering from this terminal diseases like cancer, they would say, kill me. I don't want to suffer anymore. We don't want to suffer anymore. Give us poison, for instant death. Of course, these kind of things are displeasure. They're seeing displeasure, but this is not the real displeasure based on knowledge, not associated with knowledge. This is based on anger or ill will, dosa. negative form of emotions that they do not want, they detest this their life, existence. So whatever arises and passes away, whatever dissolves as soon as they arise, cannot be satisfactory, cannot be pleasurable. And they cannot be checked. Neither can you. Can one check? There's no atta, self or soul, to check it. There's no supreme being to check this, not to die or not to pass away or not to endure suffering. So they cannot do anything in order to not to let things pass away, in order to be permanent. They cannot do anything to be permanent. They cannot do anything to be pleasurable. So that's why it is said this the first thing is arising and passing away. This is the first point, first aspect of this adinava, seeing displeasure, because things arise and pass away. And then the second aspect of adinava, seeing displeasure, is a reason of unsatisfactoriness or suffering. Unsatisfactoriness or suffering, especially the physical suffering when one undergoes such suffering in the body. And the third aspect of displeasure is the selfless nature, non-self nature. That is, things arise and pass on their own, and there's nothing you can do about it. They are unmanageable, they are uncontrollable, they arise and pass away at their will, not at your will. This is the third aspect of displeasure. All these things constitute, these three aspects constitute adinava, displeasure. So that's why, in order to see this displeasure, the yogis are advised to practice this way of mindfulness and to see the flaws in these psychophysical phenomena which are subject to the cause-effect relationship. And one must try to observe vividly these flaws. If you are not if you do not contemplate, you will not see the flaws. If you contemplate, you will see the flaws. In the text has given this simile of this, how one can see the flaws of these, to compare with the discovery of flaws in these psychophysical phenomena which are subject to this cause-effect process. How once one discovers these flaws, one becomes displeased, and one will become unhappy with the psychophysical phenomena. The example given was suppose one has a desirable very piece of cloth or dress which one is happy with, and one is very desirous of this cloth because it's very fashionable for you. It's very new, straight from the departmental store, and you wear this dress, or you make a dress out of this, or if it's a piece of cloth, or if it's a dress, you just wear this, and then look in the mirror, sideways, frontways, backways, on all angles. You feel very happy, feel very satisfied, you're more beautiful, and you become very delighted with the dress. But there's one thing you are not aware of, that is the presence of 3 holes in the dress, because you didn't look carefully, because you bought it in a hurry. Then when you are doing something, either you are laundering or washing or just spreading out, by some means you discover there are 3 holes in the cloth, in the dress. Prior to this, you have been very happy. But once you discover 3 holes, what will happen? How would you feel? You can just imagine. All your delight will be reduced, even to there will be no delight at all, no attachment at all about this dress. And if possible, you would like to throw it away. Of course, some people might stitch it up and wear this again. But if they can help it, they would like to throw it away because they get so much disgusted, getting very disgusted with this dress, which they should have discovered previously, but they didn't discover. So, previously, one was very desirous, one was attached and delightful, but now, once one sees the flaws, one changes one's mind, and one will wish to relinquish this dress, because this is no more pleasurable, no more enjoyable. What is the reason? The reason is because it is why is there no delight or no attachment? Because of the presence of the 3 holes in the cloth, in the dress. But why does one become displeased with the 3 holes? Why does one displeased with 3 holes, and why does one displeased with the cloth? One should be displeased with the 3 holes, because 3 holes are the real flaws. But the 3 holes belong to the cloth. So 3 holes are in the cloth. So one becomes displeased with the cloth, with the dress, not the 3 holes, or including the 3 holes, because the dress is not free from the 3 holes. And once one discovers the 3 holes, there will be no delight, and one will not be satisfied with this. On the dress or the cloth, one will wish to throw it away, relinquish this cloth. So this is how one, seeing the flaws, one will change one's mind and wish to get away from it, get it out of your possession. Same thing goes with the body. When one sees the flaws in the body, you will not wish to possess this body. You would like to relinquish this body. And suppose there's an emergency in you while you are traveling. You want to rush to the restroom because of urgency. And at that moment, your only objective is to rush to the restroom. If you cannot rush to the restroom, if you cannot find a restroom, then you will endure a lot of suffering. Only when after you've gone to the restroom and come out of the restroom, you will feel very relieved and happy. And prior to this, you will feel very uncomfortable. And if somebody comes and gives you something, you will not want